Welcome to the Grappling Grappling Rewind Podcast.
Welcome to this week, or this special episode, live from ADCC 22 of the Grappling Rewind Podcast. We are here live in Las Vegas, Nevada, right after the conclusion of ADCC 2022. We are going to talk about all the action that took place on day two, including the Superfight between Andre Galvao, the semifinals and finals of all of the men's and women's divisions, and just generally give our thoughts on, I think, what was a really amazing event. As always, I'm your host, Maine, my co-host,
Zach.
How you doing, Zach?
Good.
We also got Miranda here.
Hey.
Which I think you said you're very tired, going to be a little quiet today.
Yeah.
So, and we also got Will here as well, sitting in.
Our research assistant.
Friend of the show, Will's helping us out with some of the brackets, and generally we all were here as a team from Baltimore BJJ, and so
There's a lot to take in, and it's good to have extra people around.
It's good to have extra
that
people
we're
to
not
pull
saying
on.
Things that are completely wrong.
So we spent some time getting all the notes together because we're coming right from the venue here to do the show live. Very amazing weekend. As you can hear in our voice, we have some tech issues live in Vegas, so we have a single mic, so that's going to affect the quality of the audio. But
Also affecting the quality of the audio is the screaming that we did for 2 straight days in what was an incredible event. But
dude, it was amazing. But you can hear it. You can obviously hear it in our voices.
we all sound like 70-year-old emphysmatics, but
Dude, we all sound like chain smokers. It's been a hell of a weekend.
we sound like chain smokers.
Oh, I was like,
Yeah.
I didn't think we were chain smokers.
No.
Okay.
Dude, there were so many moments. I loved the venue. The production was amazing. Like being there live in Vegas, it was unlike any grappling event I've ever seen, been part of. It was truly a once in a lifetime experience here in Vegas.
I've been following Jiu-Jitsu. I've been part of Jiu-Jitsu since we've talked about it on the show a little bit. I think I started in 2004 or 2005.
Yeah.
This was the first time I was ever at an event that felt like a real sport. Like we are doing a real thing that is a real sport with real professionals on a real stage. And this was the first time that it really felt like that in the entire history of my life in this sport.
I loved it as a short man. People would get live and stand up and cheer, and then they would sit back down so I could continue to see the
Very
match.
polite, yeah, it was wonderful. Yeah.
It was awesome. Again, the whole community was amazing. We got to see a bunch of people. We got to touch base and actually see people who I really only ever met online, promoters that I've talked to online, and like see people in person. And it was really amazing, how accessible the community still is. Guys from the event, athletes are walking around the venue, taking pictures, like got lines of forming. They're talking to fans, talking to other practitioners of the sport. It was really amazing to get together with the sport. With that all being said, it's very late in the evening. Let's get to the action.
Yep.
Let's start it off with the match that we all wanted to see. Andre Galvao took on Gordon Ryan. Andre Galvao, 6-time ADCC champion, 2 times in once in weight class, once in absolute, 4-time Superfight champion. Finally takes on Gordon Ryan. We talked about it a little bit in the pre-show. A couple years after when we really wanted to see the match, but still an historic match to see. Gordon Ryan scores 12 points on Andre Galvao in a 20-minute match and then submits him, I think, in about 16 minutes.
Yeah, this was
like that.
a predictable end to this match.
Yeah.
But I'll say 2 things. One, Andre, it looked like Andre was making Gordon work more than we've seen anyone in the past 5 years.
Yeah.
I think that Gordon was being strategic about things. He did the thing where he sort of allowed Galvao to take him down. Galvao kind of bumped in, and then Gordon flopped down, and it looked dramatic for a split second. And then everyone kind of realized that Gordon just shot himself down.
And then Galvao realized too, which so you saw Galvao get really happy that he had taken Gordon down, and then a split second later he realized, Gordon wants to play from the bottom. He didn't want to pull because this is a final. So I think the Superfight is treated as a final, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
So if you take me down and no points, I don't get taken down for 2 points, and there's no guard pull assessed for me for -1. So Gordon strategically started the match 0-0, but then from the guard where he is so strong, Galvao came into the guard. Gordon swept over.
Gordon had 2 or 3 leg entanglement attempts, and Galvao dealt with them better than we've seen anyone. Gordon wanted that ankle, and he's got an incredible grip on it, and Galvao was able to get out of 3 separate, at least 2, possibly 3, I think, entanglements that looked close.
There was one heel hook in particular where you saw like, oh, Gordon's going to finish him quick here in the first couple minutes.
Yeah.
And then Galvao goes, nah, son, I'm Andre Galvao.
Yeah.
Gets out. And then Galvao did a really interesting thing with the leg where he pushed forward really aggressively and really high hip with the leg. And then as Gordon was still kind of going for the heel hook, Galvao would lift Gordon's top side leg up and push it and like bench press it away from his chest. And it would change the angle of Gordon's hips where he couldn't really drive under that heel to get that. It was really interesting and like.
But we see the Rotolo brothers do that as well,
which makes sense because they're under the tutelage of Andre Galvao and Atos there.
And that's in it, but it's sort of I don't want to call it off meta defense for some of these entanglements because
I think it absolutely is. It's a great defense, but it is not something that we're seeing in the majority of the practitioners that are defending those positions.
And I think smart people will start looking at those defenses and modeling off of that and working from that.
Let's quick aside. We are about to get in the community a whole lot of very heavy collar ties.
Oh yeah,
and I am not quite ready for this.
Oh, I'm all about it. I'm about it.
I'm all about it too.
I've
but
always
my
been.
neck isn't really.
I've
all about
always
it.
been really fucking annoyed that. Well, no, that's not true. This is way off topic. So I'm gonna bring it back quickly. But back in the fucking day, at least in Ohio, where there's a lot of wrestlers, people were aggressive with jiu-jitsu. It was a sport where you were beat the fuck up. Right?
Yeah.
And then it got a little bit more commercial and people got nicer and now people are doing nice things, but it is still legal to club someone in the back of the head as long as you can pretend enough that it's a collar tie. And I love that that's coming back around for me because that's how I started in the sport.
So I'm going to end
and then I moved camps and then I was at a place where people were like, oh no, it's kind of, we're nicer here. And so then I don't want to like club my friends in the back of the head because apparently that wasn't cool in the next place that I trained. And I enjoy that that's kind of coming back around, and I'm sure everyone in this room doesn't like that I like that.
No, I'm completely fine with you liking that.
Not a fan of Zach. I like flowy jiu-jitsu.
I like collar ties too.
You are not okay with that. I know you shouldn't be.
I'm okay with it. It's fun.
So we're going. Again, it was an interesting meta shift that I wanted to bring up because I'm not sure if there's going to be a time in the show to bring it up. But now, like, it'll be interesting as we move forward in this match. Like, we were seeing shifts of meta. Like Andre and Gordon are two of the best practitioners that have ever lived in the sport. To watch what Andre did and how Andre addressed stuff, kind of in an off-meta way, speaks to kind of every ADCC. We see a massive shift in meta of like you see what top guys are doing, what they've been drilling and training for 6 or 8 months or a year, kind of somewhat in secret a lot of times, showcasing at ADCC, and the whole community is watching this event and goes, "Oh, that's what the best guys in the world are doing." That's all of a sudden in rooms all around the world tomorrow.
And so Andre clearly knew that Gordon was going to be going underneath for the legs and had been working on these defenses, and this is a really beautiful defense. We see it from the Rotolo brothers. We see it at the highest level possible with Galvao.
Yeah.
And then, I think this is the first time in 5 years that we've seen it has looked like Gordon wanted to do a thing and he wasn't able to do it.
Took a while.
No, he wasn't able to do it. He gave up on attacking the leg locks. The closest we've seen to this is Mourinho fight with
when he was trying to smother
choke.
Him.
Like, smother choke is a kind of a ridiculous thing for him to ask himself.
He was kind of trying to do it as a meme almost.
Yeah.
Like he was like, I want to get this because I can do it.
And so it looked like he couldn't pull off the leg attacks the way that he wanted to.
Yeah.
He switched strategies and
pretty
instead
quickly
swept
too.
them. Yeah, I mean 4 or 5 minutes.
I don't think he went on the leg that long. I think he was only on the leg for a couple of minutes, 3 attempts, and then realized, I'm probably not going to heal Andre Galvao.
He ends up hitting a come-up sweep, still no points, but ends up on top with the come-up sweep, and then
it's a no points because it was before the points period of the match.
Period, yeah.
The initial section that we're talking about.
First 10 minutes. This
is a super fight, 20 minutes. First 10 minutes are no points, but because it's the final, -1 for pulling guard. Wasn't relevant in this match, but it's there. And then after 10 minutes, which I think is relevant, that we saw Gordon.
Well, we saw him in quarter guard.
Yeah.
And he played the judges and refs beautifully by making these sort of like feint attempts to pull his leg out of quarter guard that looked legitimate enough. But then he would let his foot go back in.
There were 4 or 5 minutes, I think, of demonstrable actual pass attempts in there, like where he was doing enough. He was forcing Andre. Maybe he wasn't actually trying to pass, but he was forcing Andre to react to him, to keep him in the guard and prevent the pass. And then he looked at the clock at like 10:05. And you could tell he'd kind of cooked the clock for about a minute 10 pretty hard. And he looked at the clock and he knew the ref was going to call him for stalling. And then at 9:58, you see him like aggressively get his leg out of the quarter guard.
And within 10 to 20 seconds, he had gotten past.
Yeah.
Right? He bided his time for about 3 minutes from 13 to 10, and then passed when points were available. He got his points for passing. He ended up taking the back.
Yeah, I don't want to gloss over this. In this sequence, Gordon Ryan, like in the passing sequence and the looking at and understanding the rules, what the judges are looking for, the criteria, to have that level of calmness and poise in order to look at the clock and know, I need to do this thing strategically at this time. I'll wait. I'll maintain this level of activity. Like, watching it Matt's side, I think we were 4 rows back.
Yeah.
And one of the best views you could have ever had of this event, to watch Gordon make those decisions in real time, is like, wow, he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he is playing this perfectly.
Yep. And so he passes, takes the back, gets the body triangle, flips the body triangle a couple times.
One of those, he got points on one of them that I don't think he fully cleared the legs off the hip line.
Turns out it didn't matter much.
Turns out it doesn't matter.
But for those of you that don't know, in ADCC rules, you can remove yourself from a pointed position. So, like, for example, let's say you have the hooks in from the back. You can remove one hook for 3 seconds, and you can put it back in, and then you get an additional 3 points for regaining the hooks. And so what was happening was Gordon had a body triangle on, say, the left side, and things would flip around. He would need to shift the body triangle over to the other side, which is just a position dominance thing. But as he would switch, and most of the time he was waiting a good 3 seconds before he fully switched, and then he would get an additional 3 points. And so he ran up to about 12 points. Maybe one of them was questionable. Maybe one of them was
only
not.
one of them, basically. He was going outside of the hip line with one of the feet, which is what you have to do for ADCC. One of them, I could be wrong. I don't think he fully got outside of the hip line for 3 seconds.
Doesn't super matter.
Didn't end up mattering because he gets this
on one switch.
Yeah,
he switches to the body triangle with Andre's arm in the body triangle, and that's basically a death
I want to go
sentence.
back and watch because he's done this before. We've seen it before. He has a DVD on this. He has instructionals on this. It was amazing to watch him make this switch so cleanly and smoothly, and then in the transition, trap Andre's arm and trap it in a way where Andre was unable for a couple of minutes, 4 to 6 minutes, unable to free his arm on that side while maintaining the body triangle on the top of on the top side, which is where you want it. And then he fought the arm down.
Yeah.
And he fought across the neck. He fought across the face. He fought
Andre
across the face.
has a hard neck to get to. It took Gordon a long time.
Andre doesn't have a lot of neck.
Thanks for saying that.
Yeah,
Andre has not a lot of neck. That dude,
not a lot of neck to get
that
to.
Dude looked physically talented in this match in a way that we've seen him.
Eventually, you're in that position for long enough with Gordon Ryan on your back. Gordon's able to sneak the arm in underneath, finishes with an RNC, becomes, takes the throne of the greatest grappler around. I think for a long time it was pretty clear since 2013 that Andre Galvao was the person to beat. He's late in his career. He talked in his speech a little bit afterward about an ACL injury. And, regardless of all of that,
he still took the match, and he still came in and performed and looked good. And I appreciate that. He said he was going to retire after the Pena match.
Yep.
And on the mat at ADCC, he saw Gordon. He went, I'm going to give you this. I don't have to give you this match.
Yeah.
Everyone knows I'm retiring. For you and for the sport, I'm going to give you this match.
And I think it's a beautiful passing of the mantle.
It
right?
really
I
is.
think
This happens in boxing all the time, and I really appreciate that in Jiu-Jitsu we have this story and legacy of, in boxing it's very common for your long-standing champion, your guy, to take on it late in his career, the new up-and-comer, the guy that will be champion one day, and usually ends up losing to that new up-and-coming champion. It passes that throne along. In grappling, I think that was this moment, and it was really cool to be there live and to see it and to witness the technical display that Gordon had. In doing that, it wasn't like a close victory. It was Gordon putting a stamp on, this is my era, we're coming into this, and I have all of this technique to continue to showcase and push.
So not a lot of this match was surprising.
No.
But Andre put up an incredible fight. They were both very respectful afterward. Ended the way we sort of expected it to.
And the way we not hoped, but I love that at the display of respect at the end,
Yeah.
and just like, and Andre was like, yeah, he's passing on. He's going to be a great champion. He's a great champion.
Yeah.
And in Gordon's speech, he's like, we had some thing before, and that seemed completely put behind of like, we are going to go and continue our careers in grappling. Andre probably in the coaching side. He seemed to hint at a couple more super fights that he wanted to do a little bit, like maybe I'm not retired.
The exact quote was, God, something along, not the exact quote.
Asai and Jesus?
Something like that.
Something
yes.
along the lines of Asai and Jesus are the only ones that know when your last fight is.
Something
So
like
he,
that.
he said what he said was
He implied
God's
that
the
one-
only person that knows when your last
He
fight is.
implied that ONE FC is going to pay me a lot of money, and I will show up and take another
He
fight.
might still have a contract with them.
Yeah.
You don't know what his contract is written.
I'm not sure, and again, even guys that are not Andre Galvao is Andre Galvao. I will always tune in for an Andre Galvao fight, no matter what organization or what format it is in. But I really appreciate that we did get the fight that everyone had wanted for for 6 plus years now. It's been talked about since Gordon Ryan was a brown belt.
Yeah.
Like, I really love that we actually got the match and it played out and Gordon Ryan's put a stamp on it, and then he now gets to go and take the Superfight champion as well as his division champion. So
And
this
let's talk
is
about
a
that
good
super
enough
fight.
segue is all.
Let's talk about that super fight champion.
Let's
that
talk
person
about-
that's going to fight Gordon Ryan in 2 years.
You want to talk about the absolute
champion.
first?
Let's do absolute.
Right, let's run the absolute.
I got it.
Holy shit. This was a hell of an absolute.
We talk about the whole absolute bracket right now. We're not talking about every single fight because that's ludicrous, I think. But we got our brackets today after the finals were over. They put the brackets out.
Yeah.
You figure out who's in the absolute. They ran through the absolute beautifully
Dude,
fast.
they
had
ran.
three mats going.
That was like a local tournament. They
Yeah,
were cooking
they
through.
That was
moved it.
better than a local tournament. That was.
I
Like,
mean,
It was
ran,
smooth.
yes,
that was
it
like
was,
a wrestling tournament.
That was like
It was
a wrestling
incredibly
tournament.
smooth. People got 10 to 20 minutes rest in between rounds, tops,
Tops,
10
depending on
to
the
20
guys.
minutes, and then you were boom at it again. I think
So-
the story that is most exciting about this is not about who won it, but is Ty fucking Rotolo.
Jesus.
Because-
Tyrotolo
so-
loses first round to his coach, or one of his coaches, Josh Hinger, in 88. It was a start. Like,
And Ty was the kind of person that coming into this, you were like, he played incredible last year. Ty could take the bracket. Ty could take minus 88.
By the way, we're going to continue to say last year. When we say that, we mean 2019.
Yeah,
last
time.
ADCC. We're going to say last year because we just keep saying it. So
It'd be
that's
like
what
that.
that's what we mean. We know
And
it's
so-
not last year, but that's what we mean.
Last year, Ty looked incredible. Ty, it's a common joke, a common meme in the community that Ty is the better Rotolo brother. Like it's not something like
He gets the main event slot.
He gets the main
when
event
his
slot.
brother gets the co-main event.
And
that's
we'll
very
talk
common.
about that later because that's not necessarily the case anymore for sure, at least in my eyes. But, Ty gets out first round, Cade goes on. Everyone's thinking like, wow, holy shit, that happened.
Right.
Ty gets the invite into the Absolute. Everyone was super stoked about that. Ty's run in the Absolute.
it's
First up, Ty...
Pedro Mourinho.
Ty had Pedro Mourinho.
Holy shit.
This was as close to an MMA fight as a grappling event can get.
That's true.
These two were collar tying each other, and I use the term collar tie loosely. So
Very,
hard,
very
that
loosely.
I think both of them had broken noses.
We talked about. So I'm yelling.
Oh.
I think it's a 10-minute match, and I think at the 5-minute mark, I'm yelling in the stands. They both have broken noses, and they both don't care. And Ty, the ref keeps talking to Ty about his nose is bleeding.
Ty
And
grabs his fucking rash guard, pulls it up over his
Jesus.
face, wipes the blood off of his face, and immediately steps forward. Doesn't even let the ref say, okay, go ahead
Yeah.
again. He just jumps right into it.
Dude,
like, these two were so scrappy.
There were collar ties to the front of the face, and both of them, neither one looked at the ref, like, oh, this isn't cool. It was just like, hey, man, we're going.
This is what we're doing.
Watch this match.
Oh my God, it
this
was so
match
good.
is, we use the term chippy on the show, where I guess a little chippy, like, this was chippy, but both guys were game for it. And it was
They
like,
wanted it.
cool. And I actually liked it. There weren't like, these were collar ties and strikes, but they were always done purposefully with like they weren't just like, I'm not just hitting the guy in the face and doing nothing. I'm hitting him in order to get a reaction, to actually do a thing, as opposed to just hitting him and like looking at him like, oh, is he pissed off now? Like this wasn't with the goal to piss the guy off. This was with the goal of like, I am going to force you to give me a reaction you want, and both guys were like, yeah, this is what we're gonna do.
This was gritty freestyle wrestling, hand fighting. This is the kind of shit you see from like the dirty wrestlers, and I absolutely adore that that's happening. So that's Ty's first match. Ty pulls that match off on points.
It's been a long. That was a question.
It was a sub at 8:48.
Right. Long pause, because we looked at each other a little confused. I remember the match well enough, but
I remember the pieces I want to remember, which was they both broke each other's nose, and no one addressed it, no one cared, and they kept going.
It was an incredibly exciting,
incredible match. Regardless of what we say, we'll watch the match. He then matches up with Felipe Penna, who beat
former absolute champion,
who beat Roberto Jimenez in the first round handedly.
Yeah,
and there was a takedown. It was like body lock, big brother down.
Oh yeah.
Roberto had a couple of moments, but overall it was Penna on top, dominating on points. Felipe meets Tyrotolo in the second round. We went, oh. Ty's now going up against an absolute champion. He lost first round in his bracket. He had a great match against Pedro Mourinho, who also didn't make the finals. Like, where is he at? What's he going to look like? And Ty looks exactly like he looks in Pedro Mourinho, and like, I don't care that you're 6'8" inches taller, 40, 50 pounds bigger than me. Like, and so you saw the dog come out in Tyrotolo in this fight.
Ty was fighting his ass off in this, and like looked good. And so the way that Ty wins this, if you just look at it on paper, it doesn't do justice for the match, because Ty wins on a penalty point. The penalty point happens when there's a scramble, and Pena sort of, like, it's kind of a scramble, but they're both definitely on their feet, and then Pena drops to his ass.
Yeah.
And so, like,
he pulls guard, essentially.
He pulls guard, and he gets the penalty point for pulling guard. And so I think what Pena thought was happening was, like, this is a scramble. If I end up on my ass right now because I want to play bottom, they're not going to count it as a penalty point against me, because, like, I think strategically he thought that it was a scramble enough that when he dropped down,
it would be a takedown attempt. It would be a takedown attempt. It wouldn't be counted as a penalty.
It would be 0-0, and now he gets to play bottom, which is what he wanted. But it was also like just slightly delayed enough. Like his drop down was slightly delayed enough that he got the negative for it. Ty continues to play. There's a moment with about 30 seconds left that Ty almost gets his back taken. There's like almost a crucifix situation, almost a back take. There's a lot of danger, like very high level of excitement in the room, because
everyone in the arena, excitement doesn't count. Everyone is screaming in the arena. I think, was this the USA chant?
Yeah.
This was the USA chant. The entire, you're in Las Vegas.
There were multiple
USA chants.
Even when there was no USA.
There were two Brazilians in the finals, and everyone started chanting USA.
So this is a nice time to caveat early on in the show. Historic event this time round.
Oh yeah.
This is the first time. So people don't talk about ADCC as like countries winning it. Like it's not. It's a world championship, but it's world championship often thinking about for the people. But flags are involved, and people do talk about the countries that people come from. Right?
I do appreciate that more and more in ADCC. That's why there are world trials in different regions.
Yes.
And hey, if you don't have a passport from Europe, you can't compete in the European trial. That is for European athletes to come over that are representing Europe, and then you come to ADCC and you represent Europe.
And I think in that way, it's the closest thing to like a world championship that you see in wrestling. That the grappling sport.
You have UWW as well. Which is
UWW is
which is like a world championship. But this is,
it's not as prestigious as this is.
This is a different kind of. This is a professional level. That is an amateur level.
What we're getting at is that this is the first time that Brazil has not taken more championships than another country. Brazil has taken most of the championships, most of the titles, the gold medals, historically in this. This time, the USA has more gold medals than Brazil. It's the first time in history that the USA has more gold medals than Brazil.
I haven't had a chance to do a medal count to see like overall how the countries played out, but I did love in this event in particular, we had a lot of representation from, I think, more countries than we have had previously.
And Europe killed it this time around. We'll talk about it as we go on, but the European trials winners did way better than they did historically.
Oh yeah, we had like representation from Cyprus and Canada and Brazil, and
but not just
USA.
representation. People deep into the brackets.
Yeah, Ireland, UK, Wales. We'll talk about Fiona Davies right here. So continuing on the
Are
absolute.
you on your reference one? How many gold medals?
So
are you just doing male, female?
We'll do it at the end.
Yeah, we'll do it at the
Let's
end.
continue to talk about the match between Felipe Penna and Tyrotolo.
Okay, we'll go.
We'll cover it at the end.
Yeah.
Tyrotolo, Felipe Penna.
I might be off now.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move on.
In absolute. Technically, Yuri is Brazilian.
Yuri's Brazilian.
Right.
Yeah.
So in the weight classes, Zach also did this calculation before we had run the Superfight or Absolute, and so those weren't included. Regardless,
when we can include the Superfight. All right, we'll talk about that again. Anyways,
regardless,
I might have made up a stat. I might not have.
Regardless, the U.S. did well, better than we typically do. It was exciting to be in the U.S. and be U.S. folks ourselves, and for once, like rooting for our countrymen and women. In events, it felt different in a way that most other grappling sports, you root for individual people, but this guys like Lenny Hart announced people as from a country. Like, oh yeah, he is representing the U.S.
There were times
from this
where
place.
The fanboy in me wanted to cheer on the Brazilian gentleman in the event, but also the you watch the Olympics and you're like, I want the U.S. to win. Like, I'm from the U.S. I want the U.S. to win. There was like that part of me that was like, no.
And that is something
I was
that
really torn for the first time in all of grappling history.
And yeah, that is something I've never experienced ever. I've experienced in MMA, but never in grappling. And it was very interesting to be in that room and have I'm cheering for the guy, the U.S. guy, because he's the U.S. guy. And that's, again, doing the show, that's something that I've never experienced before. And it was unique in a really cool way.
There was very much a USA kind of thing going on with Ty in this particular match. Ty ends up beating Pena on that negative point because he's not. Pena's not able to score on this almost back take towards the end. Right. Ty then has a match against Murgali and looked incredible. So this was very clear.
Dog tired.
He was by the end of it. He was super tired, but also it was very clear that this was the first time that weight was playing in as a factor in
I think it did in the Pena match, but I think he had enough gas to make it less of a factor. Like Pena was obviously much bigger than him, and that was noticeable in the match. Like, this is a true absolute match where it's like these guys are not in the same weight class.
And it was even more noticeable in the Margali match, which Margali was minus 99, and Pena was bigger than that. Pena's plus 99, but I think just the tiredness plus. The weight made a big difference, and there were multiple cases where I think if Murgali was the same weight as Ty, Ty wins. Because there were cases where Ty was trying to suplex him. There were cases where Ty was really close to takedowns. There were cases where Ty was really close to passing, and Murgali just kind of was like,
he had that little bit extra.
I'm going to be bigger than you.
Either length or size or weight. Let's just put a little more into Ty and lift him into places, or prevent Ty from lifting him in places that you just wouldn't see from someone at 88 kilograms.
And so Murgali, this goes to ref's decision. It's a 20-minute match total. No, I'm sorry, a 30-minute match total because it goes to ref's decision. And the ref's decision goes to Murgali on this. Yeah. I think it's a legitimate ref's decision. I don't disagree with it at all.
It was overtime. It was 15 minutes. I looked at it and went,
15, not
I love Ty. But late in the match, you could tell that he
was gassed.
He had so many matches with bigger dudes that he just didn't have the gas to continue to push forward and get he shot a takedown at the end. He did his best effort, but you could tell that it just wasn't quite. He wasn't able to do what he needed to do. Murgali takes it. I think a very reasonable decision.
Right. So this was the one that I was saying in the crowd at the time. I know that Murgali wins this. Before the decision was made, I was saying, I know Margali wins this. I also very much hope that the judges are swayed by Ty being the crowd favorite and give it to him because it would be defensible to give it to Ty.
Although you can defend it.
It would be defensible, although it would have been a bad call.
Yeah, I agree.
And they didn't give it to him. So Murgali wins that match. Murgali goes on to the finals. Ty ends up taking third because Cyborg loses in the semifinals.
I've seen two things. I've seen that it's injury. I've seen that he decided not to. I don't know what it is, but Cyborg, regardless, has been formerly the absolute champion. Decided to not compete.
For
Ty takes third. So now Tyrotolo is your fourth place champ. Fourth place from 2019 in 66 kilograms.
Yeah.
And is now your silver medalist in absolute
bronze
3 years later.
Third is bronze.
What did I say?
Silver.
So third place. It's been a
long weekend.
Been a couple of days. So other interesting matches to talk about in this bracket. Nick Rodriguez takes out Andy Vroell in the first round, 17-0. Looked extremely dominant versus Vroell. We saw Lachlan Giles versus Yuri Simões the first round.
Yeah.
Lachlan was unable to get it done. It did end up going to overtime, but Yuri was just able to continually put pressure on Lachlan.
And then we see Yuri and Nikki in the next round.
Yep.
This was, I think a lot of people had Nikki favorited in this match, and including
me.
Well,
because he'd already beat Yuri.
He beat Yuri a couple months ago, and it was in a fight to win. Different rule set. This rule set favors Yuri pretty strongly, but it was still good.
Nikki Rod passed Yuri Simões with the body lock pass that Yuri Simões is known for in that fight to win match. So we went, okay, Nikki Rod looks amazing. He just took silver in his weight. We'll talk about that in a while here. Yeah. Of course he beat Yuri Simões because he already beat him and he looks even better than he did before. Yeah. Nope. It was 15 minutes of wrestling.
15 minutes of hand fighting at least. It was a very slow hand fighting match.
Yeah.
And Yuri was the aggressor more.
Yeah, and the ADCC heavily favors the aggressor. Match end, and I went, ooh, I think Yuri was pushing forward, pushing the pace. And that's Rodriguez kind of plays that game where it's like, if he can't make something happen, got one or two big moments, the other guy is winning the match a lot of the time in those Nick Rodriguez matches, and so he's just unable to. Yuri's a veteran, unable to get something going. Yuri takes it and moves through.
We see almost the exact same match in the next round with Yuri versus Cyborg.
Yeah, and it ends with Yuri late in the overtime. Probably 12 or 13 minutes in.
Yeah.
I think maybe 13 or 14 minutes in.
There was a minute or two left on the clock.
Gets a takedown on Cyborg,
which was a beautiful takedown.
Yeah,
incredibly clean.
So I actually kind of enjoyed this match because you saw Cyborg, you saw how much of a veteran Cyborg was in some of those moments, just getting out of Yuri's takedown, scrambling out, moving. It made me, again, appreciate Cyborg's game. At 41 years old, I think the oldest person in the tournament, still contending and looking as good as he did at 41 versus Yuri, who's 32.
Yeah.
It was just, we looked up a lot of ages we
did.
in this tournament because it's something I've historically gotten really wrong. Cyborg took out Victor Hugo in the first round by 2 points. That's a match we've seen a couple of times at Nogi Worlds. I think they're 1-1 at Nogi Worlds. Victor subbed him. Cyborg beat him on points. And most recently,
and so
Cyborg
in the finals we see Yuri versus Murgali, and this was an interesting one. This is
in Murgali's run. He beats Bodoni in the
his teammate Bodoni.
Yeah, he beat Pedro. Bodoni beat Hasamrita. Murgali beat Chatora by sub.
Yep.
And then in the second round, Murgali beats Bodoni 6-2. And then Margali beats Ty, like we said, and then we move on to the finals, and we get Yuri Simões and Nicholas Murgali.
And Murgali's story on this one, just to be clear,
this was his 10th Nogi match ever.
10th professional Nogi match
ever.
Period.
Ever.
Yeah. And so
you're in the
Nicholas
absolute
Murgali,
finals as your 10th match.
If you're a person that specifically pays attention to Nogi grappling or are only listening recently because this is ADCC and it's the content that you want for this particular event,
follow us on the Grappling Run on Instagram.
Yeah, do that. But also Murgali is one of the best gi grapplers that has been around for the past 4 or 5 years. He has...
probably 6, but
maybe
6, 7.
He has had incredible Worlds runs multiple times. He's
all through color belts and into black belt.
Yeah, and so Murgali is generally accepted as one of the names that you talk about when you're like, who's going to be in the absolute finals of Worlds this year in the gi?
For instance, in 2018, Murgali, every single match Murgali won, he won by submission in 2018.
Yeah.
And won the Worlds.
Yeah, and winning Worlds.
That's the level of guy Murgali is.
But Murgali, 9 months ago, says, I want to do ADCC.
Well, no. He got invited in 2019.
Yes.
And then he decided to not attend.
Because he wasn't training.
Or he got injured. I forget what it was. There was something going on, but he didn't attend in 2019. But he got invited because everyone was like, that dude is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
We want him here. He decides to do it this year. He moves to New Wave under Gordon and John in that room with those guys.
Yep.
And everyone goes, how does he look? We see him on a couple of Who's Number One. We
And
go,
he looked good.
He looks good.
He looked not as smooth as he does in a gi, which is obvious. But we were like, this guy could do okay. Right?
Yeah,
like,
it's
he's
Margali.
clearly like making the transition well, but there's some awkwardness to his game, and it was just fucking gone here. Like the awkwardness in the past 2 months. We saw him 2 months ago.
We saw him versus Lovato. Maybe
2 months ago.
Is it 2 months ago? Was that long ago?
1 to 2 months ago, we saw him against Lovato, and he looked better than the previous match than we had seen him no-gi.
Yes.
But it was still like there was still some awkwardness, and he won that match, but there was still some like.
There was still some questions about like how good is leg lock defense, how good is wrestling, how good is his
And we got
leg
answers
sprawl
this
defense.
time. We got answers.
We went, fuck, Margali is as absolutely as good as we hoped he would be with 10 no-gi matches under his belt.
So this match itself, though, Yuri is a veteran. He's a 2-time champion already. Won in 2015 and 2017, 88 and minus 99.
Yep.
He comes into the absolute, looks good all the way through, plays the rules very well, and the rules fit his style very well.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this particular match, it's another stand-up heavy, hand-fighting heavy match, and Murgali intentionally pulls guard in the first. So for finals matches here, it's a 10 minutes of no points, 10 minutes of points. He pulls guard in the first 10 minutes, probably with 18 minutes left, and gets a beautiful sweep. Now the problem
He gets negative for it too.
But yeah, now the problem with this is that when he pulls in the first 10 minutes in the finals, he gets a negative point.
Yeah.
The points are not active yet for positive points, and so the sweep that he hit at 16 minutes left on the clock doesn't do anything. And so, like, typically, you know, we had a lot of dollar bets going on with the group.
Dude, listen to what was yesterday's show. We talk about some of the fun we had at ADCC. A lot of times we had probably a group of 8 or 9 people that were with us. We would make dollar bets on, this guy's going to do this thing, or this guy's going to do this.
We had a lot of ridiculous dollar bets. One of my dollar bets was that someone will pull guard in the finals because you get a negative for pulling guard no matter what.
You made this like when we were sitting waiting for day 1 to start.
Yeah, we were waiting for day 1 to start. And I said, I think someone's going to pull guard in the finals. It's a strategic decision. Sometimes people are smart about it. But when you see people pull guard in the finals, a lot of times it's with like a minute in the
I have to make something go. I'm down 3 points. Whatever.
No. I think when you see it happen strategically as a smart move, there are 11 minutes left on the clock. I pull guard, I take my -1, I set up my sweep with 9 minutes left on the clock. Now that points are available, I hit my sweep, I go up 2, I'm net 1, I'm winning, right?
Yeah.
Murgali did that, except he did it with 18 minutes left on the clock. And so by the time he hit his sweep at 16 minutes left, that sweep didn't count for anything. So he played the top for a little bit.
Points aren't active in finals until 10 minutes into the 20-minute match.
Yeah. And so he doesn't get points for his sweep.
Yeah.
He gets the -1.
Yeah.
He gets stood up on. I think there was like a bit of an exchange, and then there's a stand up with like
he stands up.
He stands up.
He elects to stand up essentially after the exchange ends
with 11 minutes left on the clock. Yeah. Now we move into points, and he thinks, okay, I'll do it again. Now the problem with pulling a second time is that you still get a -1 for it. So now he's down -2. A sweep doesn't even matter.
Well, a sweep evens you up essentially. It brings you to now you're even, but you have 2 negatives.
And I think that Murgali pulled the second time thinking, okay, well, I swept him once, now that we're in points, I can do it again. And he just didn't, he wasn't able to do it. Yeah. And Yuri played an intelligent game. He played very well. He was impossible to deal with.
Negative himself, but he was still up. I think he got a negative, right?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Okay. I thought it was 0 to a negative. I thought it was -2 to -1, but I could be.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
Yuri ends up winning on those -2
Yeah.
points for
pulling. Yeah, it was even, you're right.
And like these are strategic decisions that, you know, I think on the surface level, if you look at it from the outside, you might say, well, that was dumb. Why would you make that bad strategic decision? But they're smart decisions depending on how your game plays and what you're good at. And I think that
think that you can out-wrestle a former champion in ADCC
that is known for that
in the finals, and Margali went, I definitely can sweep him. Let me do that, and he did it. Just not at the
right time.
So it was again interesting, but Zach won $1 as a result.
Yes,
in Vegas.
I don't remember from who.
We don't actually. We
didn't
we
write that
actually
one
have
down.
the bet written down,
Unfortunately, so
And
I'll
it
never
was
see that
2
down.
days ago.
But yeah, so that's how the Absolute went. And Yuri goes on to face Gordon next
in 2 years.
Next year, quote.
Yep.
So next ADCC in 2 years.
But watch the Absolute match. There are so many matches. Like watch Tyrotolo's run.
The energy in Tyrotolo's 2 wins in the Absolute is unlike any energy in a grappling event that I've ever felt.
It reminded me, again, of the Absolute in 2019 with Lachlan's run.
Yeah.
It was that similar of energy of, like, can this dude pull it off? Where it's like he lost in the first round. This is Rotolo. He was in here as a child a couple years ago. Now he's an adult. Now he's a silver medalist. He's a brown belt world champion. Has won all of this stuff since being a child at ADCC 2019. And then gets taken out. And that storyline of coming back of like, well, can he take the Absolute? He gets third. And it was overall just a wild, another wild story to come out of the Absolute. And that's why I love the Absolute for ADCC because it's selected for who's going to make exciting matches. And they went, Tyrotolo is pretty fucking exciting. Let's put him in. And then
with another dude that wants to fucking fight you.
And
with Mourinho.
Even though he got eliminated in the first round, like, you're exciting, you get in. Like Lachlan, like, you're exciting, you get in. I love that ADCC doesn't go, oh, it's only guys that placed, like the IBJJF does in the lower belts.
Yeah.
They go, I think you're going to be fun and you're going to be a spectacle, and I want to see you fight the Superfight champion.
And based on your history, you deserve this. You know, there's a lot of it. But
And I just love that it's their criteria for it's like there's 70-something grapplers that get the option, and ADCC selects.
Cool, we're already
16.
over time. Let's go to 99.
Moving on to 99
Plus 99.
kilogram division, plus 99 kilogram division.
Coming into the day, we had Gordon Ryan versus Souza and Felipe Pena versus Nikki Rod. Gordon takes the Souza match in, I think, what we were talking about this. We're not 100% sure. I think it's the fastest ADCC submission on record because I think before this it was Craig with 18 seconds.
It's 11 seconds.
And this sub was 11 seconds. Gabriel moves in. Gordon touches him for like 2 seconds. Gordon pulls guard. Gabriel steps his foot in the wrong way.
I don't think he stepped in the wrong way.
I think he stepped in the wrong way. And then Gordon pulled up into
heel hook.
Single leg X kind of position. Grabs the heel hook. Done in 11 seconds.
I also love that this is if this actually is, we're not quite sure yet. If this actually is the fastest sub in ADCC history, I love that it's not like a first round sub, like a 1 seed, 16 seed. I love that it's like, oh, this is day 2 semifinals. Like Souza, I swiped off this. Souza's a medalist.
Yep.
Like he now
not just medalist, but beat Hasim Rida and João Gabriel before. Like that was his path into the semifinals. Was Hasim Rida and João Gabriel.
Yeah, Roosevelt Souza is your third place, your bronze medalist, 499, and Gordon Ryan's heel hooked him in 11 seconds. It's like, that's just fucking crazy. Wild. So, next one we had Felipe Penna and Nick Rodriguez. This is one I was jazzed to see, because it was like, can Nikki Rod do it again?
And
like,
I mean, this really shows Nikki Rod's development skill and ability here. He takes on former absolute champion, one of the historically, like, if we look at the
only guy
history
to
of
beat
people,
Gordon Ryan twice.
Yeah, but also just like that's what Felipe Penna's talked about now because Gordon Ryan's such a big deal. But the dude has had an incredible career.
Absolutely.
Overall, one of the best grapplers that we've ever
seen.
seen.
Multiple world titles. Some of them he still has. Some of them he no longer has. But I don't care at all. And he's still multiple time champion of many organizations and rule sets.
And Nikki Ryan body lock past him.
Dude, with
not with historically, Felipe Penna is known for his guard and his impassable guard. Like that is the thing that you talk about Penna for, is that his guard is absolutely impassable, and Nikki Rod body lock past him. Right,
got his 3 points in the points, and then
wins on points, and we get the final that we fucking wanted.
So it was either I wanted Penna again or I wanted Nikki Rod.
Nah, I wanted Nikki Rod.
I wanted the grudge match.
I wanted the grudge match.
It was former training partners with DDS. The team splits, and honestly, internally, and we've kind of heard that there's rumors. It was these guys that it was Nikki Ryan It was Nikki Rod that really didn't care for Gordon, and they clashed over time, and it just didn't work out.
Like, we on the show don't love to spread rumors. That is the rumor. We don't know what's true. It felt a little bit, to be gentle.
They touched each other at the end, and there was not many pleasantries exchanged after the match. It wasn't like Gordon and Galvao that had a moment. They talked privately on the mat, together.
Gordon was very kind about all of his wins. This was the coldest exchange following.
Yeah.
Gordon takes out Nikki Rod with a heel hook.
215.
In 215. Nikki Rod, he played in kind of cautiously. He got into an entanglement once and was able to get out, and then the second time, Gordon didn't let the foot go.
Yeah. These are guys this is one of those things you could see immediately. Like, Gordon knew he had trained with Nikki Rod a lot. He knew what he needed to do. He knew, again, we know historically Nikki Rod struggles with the legs because he comes from a wrestling background. He has had 5 years, but, to develop his whole jiu-jitsu game, focused a lot on passing, obviously focused on the legs too, but that is the area where he has historically been weakest. Gordon capitalizes on that.
And one of the things that someone on the team pointed out, this is not my thought, but that was really interesting, was Gordon wore and historically wears short sleeve rash guards to compete in.
Yeah.
He came out in a long sleeve rash guard specifically for this match. To my knowledge, it is the only match that he came out in a long sleeve rash guard for. I didn't see him do that in any other match. And the suggestion was that his wardrobe change was to increase the grip on the heel for attacking the legs, which makes sense. I think a lot of us that play into the legs know or feel that when things get really sweaty in an event like this, having a little bit of cloth helps your grip on the heel. Yeah. And this was, I think, the only match that Gordon came out in a lot, which just I'm pointing this out because
level
the tactical
to think
level,
about that as like, I'm going to change to a long sleeve rash guard to do this technique on this guy because that's where I'm going to take this match.
Like, people tape their wrists. You could just tape your wrists at that point.
They do, but
But you don't use your wrist to finish a heel hook anymore. It's not 1998.
It was just really interesting to see.
Okay, I'm sorry.
That he specifically made that change in this division, in this match, and then Andre Galvao match, short sleeve rash guard again.
Yeah.
He was going to go for the neck in that match, and it was just like wild to have that. It is,
and this is all speculation, but I love speculation.
Hey man, I love a good story. I don't like rumors, but I love speculation.
Yeah. And so
you've listened to the show long enough, you know how we do the show.
But if that was the decision that was made, it's an incredibly brilliant tactical decision from Ryan, which is something we would expect.
Yep.
Gordon Ryan takes the 99 division.
Felipe Penna bows out of that division in favor of the absolute. So Roosevelt Souza takes your default third. Penna moves on to the absolute, and so we get Gordon Ryan champion. Nick Rodriguez, Roosevelt Souza, Felipe Penna, Gordon Ryan
taking his second silver in the plus 99 division.
Yep. Gordon Ryan is now the only person to ever do both the Superfight and their division, and the dude won both.
Have we seen someone take gold in 3 separate weight classes in ADCC before?
I think we have. I always forget the stat. I know a lot of guys have done it in IBGF, but there are more weight classes in IBGF. I know there are a lot of guys that have done, not a lot of guys, there are a handful of folks that have done 2 weight classes.
Yeah.
I don't know if 3.
That'd be an interesting stat to look up.
It's in order.
Yeah,
by him growing.
88, 99, plus 99.
It's not like he did 66 and
that's still
99.
There was a funny Reddit thread that was talking about he's got to drop to 77 and take that one.
Yeah.
And we talked
what
about
I'm saying is it was how he was growing.
Yeah, but that's still
size.
cool. But that still means that he was young enough at a point when he was minus 88 and then still won
I just don't find that as a...
Ty ain't going back to 66.
Ty's not going back to 66.
I think Gordon Ryan first goes to ADCC when he's like 19 or 20 or something, or 21 or something, very young.
Sounds like a made-up stat.
That is the plus 99 kilogram division. Gordon Ryan wins again. I am curious if in 2 years he will elect to retain and continue to defend both the 99 kilogram title and the Superfight title.
Dude, I bet he does.
He didn't mention it when he beat Andre. By the way, he went, "I will fight Felipe Penna again because you wanted to see it. Right now, I will give him 30 minutes to rest, and we will fight." We left the arena before that happened. I don't think it happened.
I thought, almost no chance Pena takes that. And I hope that I was right, because if I was here in the city while that's happening in a different place, I will cry myself to sleep tonight.
I don't see that it occurred.
I don't either, but like again,
Somebody would have posted it.
But I also love that he said that, and in that moment I was like, that dude is 100% serious.
Oh yeah, Gordon
If
Ryan
Pena
was serious.
walked out on the mat in that moment, it was like, right now we do it. Gordon would be like, right then.
Yeah, it would have happened. Gordon was serious about it.
That was a very. It's like, how do you? Because the question was, how do you make this like more impressive? And in that moment, he was like, "You wanted to see it? I'll do it right now." And I went, "I didn't expect that." Okay, like props to you, man. Very curious to see if he continues to do both divisions. He elects to do the super fight.
I bet he does.
It
Minus 99.
Minus 99.
We had Kynan and Lovato in the semis here.
Lovato still has it, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
Lovato
he
still got
didn't beat Kynan. It was
He
a
didn't
ref
beat Kynan.
decision after 15 minutes after the overtime.
And like it was the right decision, but also
Absolutely.
Lovato was in it. Like it wasn't like a dominant
Yes.
decision, and Kynan couldn't beat him without the ref's decision,
Yeah.
right? Like
He couldn't outpoint him. At no moment did he score on Lovato, and that speaks again. It was Lovato's last match. I think Lovato, officially retired after the match.
no, he had. Did they have the match with Margali?
Yeah.
Retired. Yeah. He retired after the Margali.
After
Yeah,
the
after
Margali
the
Margali
Margali
rematch,
match.
he retired. Sorry, I got
Yeah.
ahead of myself there. This is for semifinals, so they go into the consolation, the third place match.
Yeah, he retires after
He
that.
retires after that match. That match. We have that how it ended actually.
Yeah, Margali. He Margali beats him on points.
Okay, yeah. Weird points. Lovato gets a standing ovation from the crowd.
An absolute legend of the sport.
Yeah, I talked to Lovato very, very briefly after that, and was basically like, "Hey, you're amazing." It was cool to like shake his hand, have a picture with him. He's a huge ambassador for American Jiu-Jitsu, the first American world champion. I think
Second. BJ Penn.
Right, BJ Penn, American champion. It was really cool to be there for he just retired from gi this year. To be there for his no-gi retirement was phenomenal. It was so cool to like be part of that. We also, in this division, had Craig Jones versus Nicholas Margali.
This like also went to a ref's decision. Another close one. I think it was clear that Craig was the aggressor, and Craig had more shots, but this did go more close attacks.
Yeah.
But this went to ref's
When he was
decision.
being the aggressor, and he was like, Craig Jones knows. He's been a multiple time silver medalist in the ADCC. He knows what to do, specifically in the rule set. He has been there and done that. And you saw that in this match. There was an early leg lock attempt a couple of times. Murgali impressed me greatly with his leg lock defense. And there was even a moment where Craig, I forget exactly what the sequence was, and you told it out when we were talking to the bleachers, that you saw Craig do something that he thought would trick up Murgali, and Murgali immediately addressed it. And you saw Craig go, like, I didn't think that you would have an answer for that, and he did, and it was amazing.
And Craig, I don't know if he thought that this was going to happen, but Craig went into this match, I think, with the strategy of I'm going to take him out fast. And so Craig spammed attacks for the first 3 minutes from the bottom. Craig pulled.
Three or a little more,
Three
something
or four
like that.
was aggressively attacking into the legs.
And we've seen Craig do that at the beginning of these matches. And we saw a lot of guys actually do that at the beginning of matches, go out really hard for subs initially.
Can I end
and then
this now?
Take their foot off the gas and go, okay, I got to play this tactically, but I'm going to, in the no points period, which is why I love the no points period of ADCC, I'm going to go fucking wild. I'm going to see if I can get you out of there quick. And then if I can't, okay, now I'm going to go play the tactical match that I need to play. And I love
so
that
that goes to the
allows
15. Craig takes it. I think it was a legitimate take on that part, but
it was close.
Craig takes it on the ref decision.
I was like, I think that goes to Craig. It goes to Craig.
Yep.
And then we get
our final Kynan versus Craig. This was so. I think again, this is one that if you like go to Reddit and look at anything about this match, it's going to be a shit show and a firestorm.
Kynan in a 30-minute period lost a lot of fans. gained a lot of fans back.
Yeah,
And
in a 30-second period,
He
lost
did.
a lot of fans. So here's how this goes. I think Kynan played really smart, and we were talking about this during the match as well, and then Kynan kind of confirmed it when he had his interview afterward.
So-
but basically what was happening was
let me talk about the score.
Can I
Go.
no.
Tell the story then.
I'm going to let you finish, but so the way that this goes is Kynan is able to get Craig down. We move into the points section. Kynan passes, neon belly, racks up about 7 points.
Something like that.
In the process of doing that, though, he is maintaining control of a position for a very long period of time. This is how Kynan plays jiu-jitsu.
He's cooking Craig.
He's a top dominant player, and when he's able to like pass through guard, he plays tight and controlled, and that's what he was doing.
And he plays slow.
He plays slow, tight, and controlled, and I like that kind of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
I think that that's great. It might be a little bit boring to watch, but I think it's great. The problem with that type of jiu-jitsu in ADCC is that they are aggressive with stalling calls.
They want you to continue as if
And
if
so-
you are up on points or in a dominant position, you are expected to continue to
You
work.
are not just you are required.
Yeah, required.
Required to progress your game if you are winning. You cannot just take a lead and sit on it, and they will give you penalty points for that. The thing here, though, was that Kynan was able to rack up 7 points. And so this happened because Craig, it started because they were in half guard, and Craig went for a Ezekiel,
Yep.
and
then
Kynan
mounted.
said, nah, I'm going to put my ass up in the air, clear the leg, and mount you. And so he got the mount off of it. Craig let go of the Ezekiel.
Goes
Kynan
back
was in
for
mount.
it, gets out of it again.
Kynan went to neon belly, and then back to mount. We ended up with a 7-point lead. And then Kynan hung on to mount for a little bit, ended up getting into side control, back into half guard, and was playing things easy. Not playing things easy, but playing things controlled. And in the process of playing things controlled for about 6 minutes,
Very slow.
he racked up 8 penalty points, which is a ridiculous amount of penalty points.
So at one point, he had 7 points, and he had
8 penalties.
He had 7 penalties because the thing was,
even.
we got to the penalties started
even, we
racking
didn't go
up.
over,
And
right.
in the crowd, we were like, oh, another penalty. Oh, there's no way this makes a difference because he's got a 7-point lead. What's the odds that happens? And then he got to 6, and people were like, could he lose this because he's stalling so much? And so the crowd goes fucking crazy when he goes to 7 penalty points because
now
now
he's
Craig
even.
gets
Now,
even.
now the match is technically even because he has 7 penalty points and he has 7 points.
But Kynan realized that happened, and within about 30 seconds of it getting evened up, he passed and went to neon belly, I think, and
He ended up with
11
with 11 points.
So I think it was a
Get
pass
out
in
of the
neon
game.
belly
Yeah.
for the second 2. He did that without a question.
Was it 12 total?
12? Okay, so maybe passed him
Okay.
out. Either way,
He gets another penalty point.
It went, hey, Kynan, you're now even, you need to score. And he said, okay. And he fucking scored.
Dude.
He did it because he was capable of doing it, but what he wanted to do was not push the pace so much that Craig got an opportunity to sub him, because I think Kynan knew that if Craig was going to win, it was going to happen by sub across the board. And I think that's what everyone knew. So he said, I'm going to get the points when I need them, and then when I don't need more points, I'm going to keep safe.
Finish the match, gets a lot of boos, and then gets on the mic because they interview everyone except for
Gordon walked off after his finals
maybe
win.
that's what it was. After the interview, they interviewed everyone else.
Everyone else, yeah.
And Kynan basically goes, look, I have a career here. I have to win. That's part of this. I have to play to the thing to win. I understand that, like, you guys are upset with how this ended, but I have a career. I have to do. And everyone kind of went, not fair. It's ADCC finals. Like, I would do the same thing.
Yeah.
And it was
funny because,
very,
like,
very funny because everyone
the crowd
immediately kind of went
booing him. It was like clear boos when he won because everyone was like, "You stalled," and then he was like, "Look, guys, like you can boo me. I understand why you're booing me, but
he was like, I understand.
I have to win. We all have our different styles. We have our personalities in this sport. This is my style. I have to win using the style of jiu-jitsu that I have.
Yeah.
This is what I had to do." And everyone was like, "I get that. I'm no longer gonna boo you."
And then everyone cheered it. It was
a
like
clear shift, and like
it was just so funny, like that he, like, so many athletes fuck up that opportunity to work the crowd and be like, hey guys, and Kynan was just like he just fixed the problem, and I respect him a ton for it.
In a 15-minute match, he lost like
20,
80%.
20 minutes.
20-minute match, he lost
Finals.
Oh yeah,
20,
finals.
10,
20-minute match, he lost 80% of the fans in the crowd.
Oh,
and
yeah.
then in a 30-second interview, he brought like 75% of them back.
Yeah.
Like it was
very funny in the moment to be there and hear him do that. So
well, and also hear the crowd like kind of all understand communicative, like
Kinda go,
collectively we were all like,
you heard
yeah,
of-
okay,
yeah.
yeah, all right.
Because even in our group, we were like, that was fun. And then he goes like, I have a career, I have to win. And we all kind of went, that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, I like that a lot,
It is
actually.
ADCC. Like, yeah, winning is the most important thing. Like, he doesn't have to necessarily entertain us. Like, because that's the important
I'd
thing.
like to be entertained, but his job is to win, not entertain me.
So, for the finals, for under 99, Kynan Duarte takes it. Now you're previously your plus 99 champion in 2019.
No,
now
minus
you're
99
minus 99 champion. Does he go to 88? You never know. Then you have Craig Jones, perennially second place. Ooh, in his interview, he said...
in Kynan's interview.
He said, I didn't want to take Craig's second place from him.
Yeah.
And I went, oh.
And I think he did it lightly as a joke. Like I don't think he was
Yeah.
like trying to jab at Craig because Craig plays on that all the time.
Yeah.
The crowd, I think, took it as a bit of like
The crowd
real insult.
kind of like, it was like half and half.
Yeah.
The crowd went, ooh, okay, you're kind of right too.
But like Craig does that, right? Craig's got that personality that he plays into that. He's played into it for so long
This
that
was
like
also the match, I think, when it was very quiet. Someone in the crowd yelled, "Twist his dick."
yeah. Yeah,
And
the
so-
crowd got
And
a
I
little
follow
silly
you
for
on
a bit.
OnlyFans.
Somebody
Yes.
yelled very quietly, "I follow you on OnlyFans."
Not
And
very quietly, very loudly.
very loudly and
loudly.
very quiet. Because I love grappling finals like this.
Minus 88.
They turn the music off and you can hear the crowd for better or for worse. So Nicholas Margali takes third place in that division. Rafael Lovato Jr. takes fourth place and retires. A great finals. On to 88 kilogram division. Let's talk about the semifinals. Giancarlo Bodoni takes a submission over Owen O'Flanagan real quick.
Yeah, 2 minutes, dominant
2
performance
minutes,
by
18
Bodoni.
seconds, yeah.
Also, we had Barbosa versus Wagner. This goes all 15 minutes with the ref's decision.
Yeah, Bodoni was a rear naked choke, and he was, I think,
No, that's the finals that he had the RNC. I don't remember what the submission was against O'Flanagan.
This was on mat 3. We were really close to mat 1.
Oh no, it was a counter. It was a counter ankle lock, and so
Oh, yeah,
O'Flanagan
yeah, yep.
was this. O'Flanagan's a story that should be talked about because that dude was a European Trials winner, classically European
14 or
Trials
15 or something seed in the
Yeah.
bracket.
Classically, European Trials winners they drop out kind of early.
Yeah.
He makes it to the semifinals.
For the men, by the way.
For the men.
not
For the men.
For the men.
He makes it to the semifinals, which is already a big thing. And
Oh,
like
yeah.
he was going after Bodoni
Mm-hmm.
early, like really attacking. And he had like O'Flanagan had an entry, an entanglement that looked good. Bodoni slipped his knee and then counterattacked and then hit the. If I'm remembering the correct match, I know Bodoni did this in one match. I think it was this one.
Yeah.
And so Bodoni takes that with 2 minutes left. The other semifinal match
2 minutes in.
2 minutes in. Sorry. The other semifinal match is Hulk Lucas Barbosa versus Wagner Hosha. This is
I loved this
an
because
incredible match.
it was grimy and grindy, and it was
Classic fucking
It was
Wagner.
classic Wagner Hosha that I will play to the gray area of the rules until the ref tells me I have to stop.
And it's ADCC, so the ref's barely ever going to tell
And
you
I
to stop.
love so it's no points. Okay, great moments on the match. It's a long match. We go to overtime. Hulk is about to take his rash guard off, and Wagner goes, "No."
Yeah.
He has to leave his rash guard on
That's the
because
rules.
he's had it on the whole time. He can't change his clothes or like whatever in this rule. Like,
Yeah.
and most times, guys pull it off for overtime.
It
It's
happened over
fine.
and over again. We saw it all
Yeah,
weekend.
and it's
over
fine.
and over.
And it's fine. But Wagner knows the rules. He was like, Hulk will cool down and be slippery if he doesn't have his rash guard on. I know that I can make him have to keep that on because in the rules I'm allowed to do that. And he makes him. And Hulk
He points
goes,
and goes, "No, you can't."
And Hulk goes, all right, and like knows the rules too because he's Hulk and he's been there. He's
Yeah.
done that. He's been at ADCC before. Puts it down, and they keep going. Hulk takes a close decision win over Wagner. This was fun. This is a lot more stand-up wrestling. In the moment, watching it live, it was amazing to watch live. I am not certain how exciting it will be.
I think on video
rewatch.
this isn't the very exciting one, but it was a gritty match, and when you're right
yeah.
next to it was cool
and
to watch.
Wagner like blows his knee a little bit.
Oh
out.
yeah, he was. Wagner blew his ankle in the O'Flanagan match.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
So our constellation, our third place match is O'Flanagan versus Wagner. O'Flanagan put on a fucking show. Wagner ends up taking it.
Wagner attacks his fucked up foot. Yeah. Which I respect.
Yeah.
Like, so O'Flanagan had a taped up foot, like
from the match with Bodoni.
Really taped up with Bodoni, and they're going.
But also, so throughout the match, O'Flanagan was putting it on him.
He was a live dog in that fight.
Yeah. And there was a point when we all, like the crowd, thought that Wagner was going to lose because O'Flanagan had something in deep. He was twisting like fucking.
Was it a toad or I think a heel hook?
It was a heel hook, and he was putting it on heavy, and like his hips were in the good place. But Wagner's Wagner, and Wagner was like, no, I'd rather die. And so, so Wagner ends up getting out of this heel hook, and then there's a while passes, but there's a scramble, and then Wagner in the middle of this scramble, just reaches out, grabs O'Flanagan's taped up foot, throws a toe hold on it, and Flanagan taps right away. It was clear.
It was 17 seconds before overtime in a non-scoring match.
Yeah.
Like, Wagner was like, oh, I don't want to go to overtime with you because you moved my knee out a little bit. Heel hook time.
And, I think the difference here, I don't know what's going on in O'Flanagan's head. I don't want to, make assumptions in this particular case. But I think the difference here was that Wagner couldn't give a shit less if he has limbs tomorrow. And it seemed like O'Flanagan was like, no, I would like to walk later in my life.
Yep. We saw Wagner on crutches the rest of the evening.
The rest of the night he had crutches.
And he was and didn't look like his ankle was taped. He had an ice pack wrapped around his ankle. I just loved it. Everyone's kind of like, yeah, Wagner would attack the damage.
Absolutely. And you should.
And you absolutely should. I love also some of the comments around online were like, this is a world champion level event. Yeah, you attack the leg that's fucked up.
Absolutely.
Because do you want to win? And I just appreciate of all the guys to get us up. It's Wagner, and that dude showed at 40 years old. He got third place in under 88, going up a weight division from the previous year, 77, from medaling at 77 the previous 3 years ago, going up, showing he still has it, can still contend. He took some very close decisions in day one, but overall, Wagner showed that he still has
it. And hopefully we see more of a Flanagan because he had an incredible run.
I cannot wait for Grapple Fest, Polaris, the other UK events that we cover.
Good.
To get on those because that dude, I think he's already the champion. I think he's the Grapple Fest champion, or there's a couple events we cover in UK.
All right, we're speeding it up though,
and I can't wait to see him on that. So for this, in the final, we got Giancarlo Bodoni taking on Lucas.
And I want to say
Barbosa.
that this entire 2-month period leading up here, I was real high on Bodoni. And my high on Bodoni came from his pans run in the gi, I think. He looked...
I think also Nogi. I think you watched him in Nogi as well.
He had a pans run. He won pans. He looked incredible all the way through. He was dominant. And then ADCC started coming around.
Yeah.
He changed teams to New Wave, and I was like, this dude has changed gears.
Yeah.
He was someone that we knew about, but weren't big on.
We just hadn't covered him a ton.
We hadn't covered him a ton. He was his name was around.
Yeah.
He was taking third place in things, and we knew who he was. He had that pans run. I was like, this dude's doing something different. He switches to New Wave. He showed up at Trials looking incredible. He's the East Coast Trials winner. That's how he got in.
Yep.
Showed up at Trials looking incredible, and I was like, no, this dude is the guy that is the dark horse of this bracket. Yeah. He's the one that can surprise everyone and win. He comes into this match against Barbosa, someone that we had sort of favorited for this bracket,
especially because he got out of the Athos block.
Right.
We favored whoever got out of the Athos block. We didn't think it was going to be Hanger.
Yeah. We were saying Ty or Hulk, one of those two.
And then Hulk ends up getting out of it. I was like, okay, I favor Hulk because he's been there, he's experienced, he's done that. But Bodoni was that guy that he has looked amazing in his run so far, looked amazing in his Trials run in the same rule set. But the World Championships are different. And so I'm always in the show, I know everyone has heard, I always pick the guy that's been there before, the veteran.
Yeah.
That's sort of how I always head to my picks. Bodoni coming in. You were really hot on him, and I was fucking wrong about this pick.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about how wrong I was later. But I felt good about Bodoni. He comes in. This match looks good. He takes so it's some reasonable stand up. We end up in points. There's a scramble exchange. Bodoni takes the back. He's able to retake the back 2 more times.
9
runs up a
points
9-point
on
lead
Barbosa.
against Hulk, and then
by the way, in overtime.
No
points. It goes to overtime.
Yep.
Then he racks up 9 points.
Yep.
In a 5-minute period.
But doesn't stop there and just
in a 10-minute period.
Yeah, 10 minutes
because
is the
it's
overtime.
finals. Yeah.
And then finishes with the RNC.
In 14 minutes and 10 seconds. So less than 5 minutes. Sorry. Oh, it's finals, so it's 4 minutes into points. He racks up 9 points.
This was not overtime.
And then gets a sub. Not overtime.
4 minutes into points, he racks up 9
Wow.
by changing his legs around from the back.
Yep.
Finishes the RNC.
He stacks the points. I love to see the ADCC rule set. I love that's a feature of the ADCC rule set. For this division, we have first place, Giancarlo Bodoni. Second place, Lucas the Hulk Barbosa. Third place, Wagner Hosha. Fourth place, Ono Flanagan. Amazing division, amazing run. Bodoni is the dude now. I'm very curious. He has a lot of very interesting matchups that I really want to see him in. Cannot wait to see the Superfight tour that he goes on post this. Because I don't think he's injured.
No.
He has like a little bit, but I'm super excited to see how he looks.
And a random aside is that Barbosa kept on trying to smother Wagner in his match.
Yeah.
I found that freaking hilarious because
that's something
that's
Wagner has historically done to
what
people.
He historically does to people.
No, not smother. He was doing the hand on the face.
Yeah, the hand covering the nose.
Hand cover the mouth
Python
and
choke,
nose.
Wagner
Python,
calls
whatever. It's a Wagner thing.
Freaking
It's a thing that
hilarious.
Wagner got. I think he lost a Worlds and IBJJF for doing. He got penalized for it.
Yeah, they penalized you for
or
it.
DQ'd for it possibly because he was doing it.
I
They made
love
rules
it.
about this for him.
In 2018, everyone had to make a rule that if you could or couldn't do this in your organization.
Because
and
of
it was
Wagner.
Fucking hilarious because every rules meeting you went to, everything, it was like, can you or can you not
smother
do
chicks?
this?
Yeah,
and
you
everyone
smother?
had to put a line in the sand like,
Specifically
no, you can't.
because of Wagner.
Yes, because he won a couple matches by smother choke where he'd hold a guy's mouth. I'm doing that on an audio podcast and video podcast if you want to follow us on YouTube.
And so Wagner is the dude that made this a thing that you have to make rules about.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Hulk was in guard, just like shoving his face into Wagner's face.
love it.
Or shoving his hand into Wagner's face.
And
It was
Wagner,
hysterical.
again, not giving a shit because he's Wagner Hosha. He will smile at you while you hit.
Wagner can't get mad at that. It's his thing.
Yep, I love it. So let's move on to 77. Any other sides on 88?
No.
Moving on to 77 kilograms division, we had Tyrotolo submitting PJ Barch, the dude that took out JT Torres day one.
Brutal.
Dude, and Cade had to come from behind.
Yeah.
This was a match that Barch was, that I thought at least, Barch was winning. And Cade was extremely, good in the wrestling. They were back and forth trading wrestling, but I was like,
But I think Barch was
ooh.
up. Like if it went to refs, like there were no points, but if there went to ref decision,
I mean, we were
Barch was up.
Barch
we
was
were
up.
in this last sequence. We were 8.5 in. We had a minute and a half till the overtime was going to happen. Guys were trying to get something done. Beautiful scramble sequence to go from. I think this was a attempt at like a reversal from a takedown, and then Cade gets to the shucks to the side, goes behind. Completely not overcommits to something, but goes out the back, jumps, flips to the arm, and then comes out the back to get the arm on Barch. This was one of those sequences that's like, oh, yeah, you can't teach that sequence. You just have to be in that moment to get it.
Yeah, it was an incredible submission from Cade. But this is the kind of thing, going into this, we said if Cade wins, if Cade's gonna make a run.
Yes.
No, I mean, for that it was a submission. But even prior to ADCC, we don't even have brackets yet. You're gonna say, how does Cade win 77? It is creating scrambles and grabbing subs off those scrambles, and that's exactly what he does here.
Which is so funny that he didn't get any Darces.
Neither of them did. Yeah,
I thought Cade was he's gonna Darce his way to the finals. If he were to go, it was it's gonna be Darce or he's gonna buggy choke someone maybe, but it's world finals, world title, so maybe not. But he's gonna. I did not foresee him taking out the guy that took out JT Torres. Somebody in the group said a horrible shirt idea was. She said PJ Barch. I beat JT Torres and all I got was his T-shirt.
Oh, Yeah, we shouldn't say that on the podcast, but we just did.
We should. He did get fourth. So he does have a world place at ADCC, but that's wild that you beat the 2-time champion,
Right.
and then you get beat by the new champion. Like, that is some rough luck.
Right. Barch had an incredible run. He looked good in this match. Got caught with Cade Rotolo doing Cade Rotolo things.
Yeah.
We also had Dante Leon versus Mika Galvao in the semifinals. Mika takes that.
By score, 2 points in overtime. Takedown. Again, I was really thinking that Dante would be able to employ the same strategy that he did prior in their Who's Number 1 match, and Mika he's 18 years old.
Yeah.
He's rapidly developing his game and improving.
What was interesting about this is that as a crowd, like as a group, we all sat together and we were saying, we're in regulation.
Yeah.
We're talking about this match and what's happening with it. It looks like it might be going to overtime. And we all looked at each other and go, oh shit. Like, we think people had Mika favorited to win this. Yeah. And we all said to each other, if this goes to overtime,
Dante has
heavily
the solid
favored Dante.
edge in the wrestling because we've seen him do it. We've seen him take
he's
Mika
got good wrestling
down, and he can probably not much has changed in the last 6 or 8 months, and it fucking has.
It did.
Mika tightened up his wrestling, took Dante down, and I have no idea what the ceiling for Michael Galvao is, being Dante Leon. Then he takes on Cade Rotolo.
And
in the finals.
Yeah. And so, Cade and Micah's match was my legs hurt, my knees and ankles hurt from watching that match. Yeah. The two of them, we were all looking at each other about 5 minutes in because there were so many sub attempts, and all of them were at the legs. They were twisting each other's ankles and knees in ways that I don't know how either of them are walking right now.
Michael Galvao is 18 years old. Cade Rotolo is 19 years old. This is a match you get from two younger grapplers that have been doing it their entire life at a world level, that don't care if it breaks, that are cool with being limping tomorrow and have flexible joints because they've been getting reefed on for their entire life.
And they're 18-19.
And they're 18-19.
Yeah.
Dude.
So there were some exchanges in there where I thought either of them were going to win. And then what ended up happening, though, is that Mika drops down into, I think he was trying to enter into a knee bar, and Cade is able to set up his hips in a way where Mika can't roll.
Yeah.
And Mika, that was what ended up happening for all of the previous exchanges, that there would be good hip control, but then the rolling was capable, people were capable of rolling, and then whoever was in danger would end up rolling in a way that they were able to escape the knee.
Right.
Because of the way that Mika tried to enter, Cade was able to scoot his hips in underneath.
And I think Cade had figured out how Mika liked to enter and made that adjustment in this particular sequence.
I would have to rewatch this in video, which I'm sure I will 100 times, but that's probably true.
Yeah.
But it happened very quickly. Mm-hmm. It was the kind of thing where Cade recognized the situation, was able to pause Mika's hips, grabbed the heel hook. Mika tried to roll to escape the knee.
Well, Mika was also trying to attack his own foot. He was trying to attack Cade's foot at the same time, and Cade got a deeper bite on the heel and just wrenched over.
And it happened quick. Mika tapped.
Yeah, and he tapped, and I was like, oh, wow, how tight was that?
That
after
watching all the other shit.
Everything we've seen, that's what you tap to? Dude, I cannot imagine. And he sat there for a moment on the mat. It looked like it was a very, very tight submission. Yeah. But I cannot imagine how tight that was. Looking at the previous 10 minutes of the match and what they did to each other's legs.
And so Cade Rotolo takes the gold in -77, which is, I think a lot of people on the show, when we talked about this, I think
we all gave him a very hard fighting chance.
We all called him the dark horse.
Yeah.
I think everyone was like, Cade could take it if he has a good day. I don't think that he was the statistical pick, right? I think if you were betting, he was not the smart pick.
He submitted everyone in his run to gold. How wild is that?
True?
Yeah, he did.
Submission day.
They said it a couple
Two
times.
submissions day one, two submissions day
Jesus
two.
Christ, man.
Boom, 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 boom,
He's also the youngest.
all the way through.
He's the youngest champion. 'Cause
Yeah.
he was 19 and Hoffa was 20.
And they keep saying Hoffa's 19 and
Hoffa was 20.
Hoffa was 20. And so I think on the broadcast even they were mentioning that he was 19. I think we looked it up, and I had another friend from the show actually tell me that I think, and we'll confirm, I'll look at the dates.
Yeah.
And
Well, they're posting it all over the place that he's the youngest.
okay, so now they've kind of fixed it.
So Cade, youngest
Cade is
ADCC
now the
champion
youngest,
at 19
and
years old.
he was in the finals with an 18-year-old. Like, one of those dudes
Right.
was gonna be the youngest ADCC champion.
Right.
It's now Tyrotolo. The sky is the limit for that kid. I love seeing young champions. I
Damn
cannot
kids.
wait to see. I cannot wait to see what he does. Finals.
Same
Tyrotolo defeats
shit.
Michael Galvao. First place, second place. Dante takes third. PJ Barch takes fourth. Moving on to the under 66 kilogram division.
Onto the wrongest I have been about picking a bracket in the history of ADCC.
I'm close, Zach. I'm close here.
So, we'll get to me being super wrong, but so semifinals we have Cisneros versus Baby Shark Diogo
Hayes.
Diego Hayes takes that score 2-0. It was a nice match. There were some moments where Cisneros was looking good.
Yeah.
But Diego got it on a takedown once we entered points. And then he was able to maintain dominant position for a while. The other match that we had was Diego Patto versus Gabriel Souza. I, going into this, really thought Patto was going to take it. This went to ref's decision. And I think the ref's decision here came because Gabriel Souza was on top 99% of the match and was pressing forward.
He was moving the action forward. Patto had a lot of great attempts, a lot of submission attempts, but Souza was consistently pressuring and initiating and looking for activity, whereas Patto was on his back looking for an opportunity to do something, but Souza was progressing the action and being aggressive.
Agreed.
And initiative and aggressiveness are the main criteria in ADCC judging. I think Souza gets it on that after an overtime. But it was in a close match, and we were sitting with a bunch of Unity guys that Patto trains with, so we got a great perspective on some of the great calf slicer back takes that he uses, and
another dollar bet that we had,
yes.
just for a little perspective to the audience, another dollar bet. I personally, in my jiu-jitsu, calf crushers, calf slicers are my they're my dream submission. Like, I recognize that they're low percentage and that's not a good idea most of the time, but they're the thing that I try to hit more than anything else. Like, I just love them, and so I placed a dollar bet that a calf slicer would happen in ADCC, knowing that it was a stupid bet and I would never win that dollar.
Dollar bets are stupid fun bets to have while you sit and watch 24 hours of jiu-jitsu.
Oddly enough, it ended up pretty damn exciting. Micah almost had a calf slicer. There was a moment where we were watching Micah and Cade thinking either this calf slicer or this straight ankle lock are going to happen, and they escaped both of them.
A very quick aside here. If you ever go watch professional jiu-jitsu or amateur jiu-jitsu live, make dollar bets with your friends, because all of a sudden you care about submission attempts and guillotines and
dollar bets were good.
They made things exciting even more than the matches, because you were looking like, oh, that's that weird side bet we have about this moment where this could be the time, and it just elevated the action even more because it got everyone engaged and fun stuff like that.
Patto was playing a game where he was trying to enter leg matrix a lot, and part of leg matrix is a situation where you pass through a calf crusher, and most of the time you're not really going for it. But so during this match, I thought I was going to win a dollar off it.
And then we would talk to the Unity guys and oh, he does that a lot. He's actually going for the back here. And then I saw Zach's face go, oh.
Damn it. But then he did almost get the calf crusher in overtime. And anyways, Patto had a lot of great attempts. Patto was my favorite for this bracket going in, and that was based on his 2021 runs. He won gi and no gi Pan Ams and Worlds, took the 4 biggest titles that were available that year. I was like, Patto looks great. He's got a great training camp. He's going to come in here and take ADCC. That was my favorite for this division. He ends up taking 4th because he ends up taking third.
He beat Cisneros
because he beat Cisneros. Cisneros gets a stalling call midway through the match. Patto takes 3rd on that. He was my favorite to win, so I wasn't that far off on that. However, I also had Baby Shark, Diogo
We
Hayes.
thought Diego Patto was too small for the division. We were wrong.
We were wrong.
We were the wrongest you could be.
And Baby Shark was giving up 20 to 30 pounds depending on the match. He walks
I think
at
30
about
may be a little high, but 20 plus, I think.
20 plus.
Yeah.
But somewhere in that 10 to 20 plus.
You know what? Honestly, some of those guys, 30 with the cut.
With the cut.
On day 2 wouldn't surprise, or day 1 wouldn't surprise me.
Right. And so, right. He's given up probably 50 pounds to Ethan Krellinston, who was in the...
He's probably given up 30 pounds. He's probably 30 pounds to Krellinston.
He's given up 100 pounds to
Ethan Krellinston.
And for the record, Patto is Dream Arts. He's actually not Unity.
He trains at Unity, but
he's technically under Dream Arts.
He's Dream Arts.
Yeah.
That was a day 1 argument we were having at one point.
Yeah, but he trains at Unity.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Moving on.
So the finals are Baby Shark Diogo Hayes versus Gabriel Souza. Actually a really exciting match all the way through. A lot of back and forth. Baby Shark ends up after a scramble and a takedown attempt that started from Baby Shark.
Go back and
a scramble.
watch this sequence.
The whole thing was incredible. There was great back and forth responses. Gabriel Souza ends up turtling, and Baby Shark is able to take the back.
Yeah.
Gets his 3 points for that, rides out the rest of the 20-minute match, takes the title. I did not see that coming. My bracket had him out first round.
Yep.
Because I said he's too small for the division.
Yeah.
I think, and I said this about one of the women's divisions we'll talk about too.
Bastos as well.
Bastos, yeah, I said this. I think, for both of them, I said they look technically amongst the best in the world. Those two, but we're talking about Baby Shark right now. Technically, he looks pound for pound in the highest ranks. I just think the size is going to be a big enough factor that he's not going to make it out of day 1. Probably not.
Because we've seen that historically very frequently.
Yeah.
It's a weight class for a reason.
Even Kyotera refused to go into 66 because he said he's too small for the division.
One of the best of all time.
Yeah.
Didn't want to go into minus 66 because he was too small for the division. And you have Baby Shark who competes at
light feather.
Light feather.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's still small.
Yeah.
I thought he was like a rooster.
I don't know if he is rooster. I think he has been a rooster, but I think I got this wrong in an earlier show.
Okay.
I think
he actually
currently
is
light feather, but has been at rooster at times.
I believe that is correct.
Either way, he's on the very light side for the division.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be a bigger factor. It clearly wasn't. He takes gold. You're minus 66 champion.
Then he brings his dad out and has an amazing moment with his family that I saw most
really
people kind of
wonderful,
almost get teary. It was this is a 20-year-old adult, not kid, a 20-year-old guy coming in and
his dad's his coach,
his family
that's
and
part
his
of
team and his coach, and his dad was teary-eyed.
His dad is his coach.
It was, it was a great moment to go oh, this is a good dude with his family with him, and he's thanking the people and his coach, and it was this great moment to have Baby Shark win the under 66 kilogram division. That's all I got for 66. You got anything else?
Nope.
Let's move on to the women's. You want to do women's?
Plus 66.
You want to do women's plus 66?
This was another one that, so moving
plus
on
60,
from,
not plus 66.
Yeah. What?
Plus 60, not plus 66.
Plus 60, yeah. Sorry. Women's plus 60. This is another one on the opposite side of the spectrum where this is my best call.
You kind of called this.
This is my best call in all of ADCC. I said, Gabby Garcia is the clear choice to win. If anyone's going to beat Gabby in this entire division, it's Amy Campo. I think her style plays in the same way of the people that we've seen beat Gabby.
Amanda Levy.
She's a little bigger and a little slower than Levy. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that stylistically she can beat Gabby, and she's strong enough and big enough that it's feasible.
Yeah.
And so it's either going to be Gabby or Amy Campo is going to beat her.
Yep.
And this match, the end of this match was probably the highest excitement level that we've seen. It was of the highest excitement level that we saw all weekend.
Yeah.
And I think was the highest level of excitement that we've ever seen for a female match in ADCC.
Live 2019, Fiona armbar was louder in that arena, but this arena was different.
It was bigger.
It was bigger.
So, the end of this match, Campo hits an arm drag
to a double.
into a double, The arm drag trips up Gabby enough that the weight becomes not a factor. She's off balance.
Yeah.
Campo moves into the double, ends up on top, past, clean takedown, starts moving into side control. There are 20 seconds left
Wasn't a
when
clean
she's
takedown.
Yeah. There were.
It's 5 points.
Yeah.
5-point match. So clean takedown's 4. So it was a pass and it was a takedown and a pass.
There were a lot of points confusion in this match.
It was also off the mat.
It was off the mat.
It's a takedown and a back take.
It was basically, I think it was, okay.
It's a takedown and a back
It was
take.
basically on
2
the
and 3.
ramp that they used to enter into the mats. Like
It wasn't basically. It was they were touching the ramp while the match is finishing.
So, Campo hits this arm drag with maybe 25 seconds left.
Yeah, probably.
So, the arm drag into takedown sequence is about 5 to 10 seconds.
Yep.
The top control back take is another 5 to 10 seconds. She's creeping in on a legitimate armbar. If Amy had another 30 seconds, I think that armbar might have happened.
I'm not as confident as you are, but like it was
fucking
moving
crazy.
in that direction, and I was screaming in my seat on the other side of the ring because we were on the opposite side, screaming in my seat, looking at the TV.
They're 5 feet onto the cement. On
Oh
the
yeah,
ramp.
and the referee is going, this is ADCC, there are 6 seconds left, I am not going to reset this.
Yeah.
I'm going to let them play.
and
Which
then
is
there was
one of the only matches of the entire day that actually kept to that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they let things settle off mat for sure. Like in traditional ADCC style, they let things settle off mat, but this was the one where they were like, yeah, I ain't fucking with this. There's 10
There were
seconds
more
left.
than a few times they had takedowns and they had people in really precarious situations brought them back in the mat.
Yeah.
In a takedown that they should
that's
just
true.
let continue on the side.
Yeah.
So, Amy Campo beats Gabby Garcia, your 4-time plus 60 champion.
Mm-hmm.
Amy Campo takes her out. In the semifinals, we also see Rafaela Geddes against Kendall. Tragic event here.
Yeah, it was a great match. It's a rematch we've seen before. The ending sequence is essentially Geddes gets in on a takedown, ends up off the mat, and then ends up partially off the mat,
close to the edge of the
and we
mat.
thought Kendall had hit her head, and we learned later in
it looked like Kendall maybe hit her head on the cement really hard. The way that they went down.
Yeah.
Turns out what happened was Kendall planted on a leg, I think, and then things twisted really weird.
Yeah.
Word on the street, we don't like spreading rumors, but what we have seen is that Kendall may have torn ACL, MCL, LCL, and broken the head of the tibia.
Yeah.
Which
I wish
I hope that is wrong. Yeah. I love Kendall. That's a tragic injury. It's very sad to see her taken out that way. I know she had some knee trouble recently.
I think it was back actually. But
it was back?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So she's had some injury trouble, but
she's one that I really want to see back. I very much hope the nature of the injury is different and we learn more in days to come.
Yeah.
But very unfortunate end to this match. Kendall, I think, was a lot of people's 2 seed going in this against Gabby Garcia. With stylistically, in the finals, we get Amy Campo and Rafaela Geddes. Campo takes this 3-2. This was close.
Exhilarating. So, Rafaela got a takedown, got her 2 points off that.
Yeah.
We have about 30 seconds left in the match. Campo, around the 30-second mark, Campo gets in for a takedown, starts attacking it. Rafaela turns to turtle, which in this rule set, if you get a takedown and the person's able to turn to turtle,
points.
There's no points. There's no points. And even if you take them from turtle and put them on their back, if they were in turtle for 3 seconds, it's no points.
Nope. You're just a guard now. Like,
it's
if
just
you're on the
regular
mat,
ass
it
guard.
doesn't count.
And so Campo hits this takedown or hits what would be an IBJJF or something like that.
Yeah. Any other organization,
that's a
ADCC
takedown.
goes, nope, knees touch 3 seconds, not takedown.
Rafaela turns over. There's about 30 seconds left. Amy starts creeping up, attacking the neck and attacking for the hooks. There are maybe 5 seconds left.
I think she needed to hold it for 3 seconds. I think she gets the last hook in at 5.
So that's what I was saying.
That's what I think it ends. She gets the hook in, and points, and then gets it in the as close as you can get to not getting it. We saw this, I think, 3 or 4 times this weekend, mostly in day one, where somebody would throw a hook in at the last second, and 1, 2, 3, 4 get their points.
Yeah.
And then the match would conclude. And
Yeah.
it was, but in a world finals match at plus 60, after taking out Gabby Garcia, to throw a hook, and she worked that hook in.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell that Campo took everything she could to get the hook, and Getty did everything she could to stop it, and like, it was right and close in front of us.
It was
See
great.
that battle take place in real time was phenomenal. And get the hook in.
Campo
takes the
seems like a
title.
wonderful person in interviews and things like that. It's really It's great to
We
see her
didn't.
win.
I did an interview with her at West Coast Trials. If you want to listen to it on
Yeah.
the Grappling Grind YouTube page, you can search it and find it.
I'm stoked to see more of her.
I'm very curious to see what we see her and who we see her against. Stylistically, I think a very tough woman to beat. Cannot wait to see, like, really new. She's a brand new black belt too. She was a brown belt, just got her black belt, like, I know in the last year, if not the last, like, couple of months.
Yeah.
Cannot wait to see what she does against the top women in the world.
Women's minus 60.
So for this division, we had Amy Campo, Rafaela Geddes
Oh, yeah.
for 1 and 2, Gabby Garcia taking 3rd, and Kendall taking 4th. Again, wish Kendall all the best. Hope that the injuries are not what we have heard, and
Absolutely.
she heals up and is back.
Or if they are
on the
what
circuit.
we've heard, that she heals fast.
Yeah,
from it,
absolutely. Same thing. Moving on to the under 6 kilogram division. Semifinals, we had Bia Basilio taking on Brianne St. Marie. Brianne St. Marie takes it with 4 points.
Yeah. Nobody saw this coming.
I think a lot of people saw this coming.
I didn't see it coming.
I've got a bunch of
You have
messages.
the former champion.
I have had a bunch of messages from people like, do not count out Brianne St. Marie.
Oh, no.
She is like phenomenal. Her wrestling is good. I have been surprised about the people that have told me about how good Brianne St. Marie is. So this was she was my dark horse for the division.
I get that, yeah.
And she showed it here, taking out a former ADCC champion, 4 points, not even in the overtime, in the regulation for it.
Yep. We also had Fiona Davies versus Bia Mosquitoes. This is a rematch of the semifinals from 2019.
I thought she was going to armbar her again.
Oh, it was close.
There was one armbar sequence when I went, it's very rare, but sometimes you see a matchup and someone just has someone's number, and I thought this was the matchup. Because there was a moment where Fiona got to a very similar spot that she got to in 2019. I went, oh no, again, the same way, and Mosquito was able to get out of it, brings it to score. Davies, in the end of the match, takes the back. I thought she was going to flatten her out completely. Puts the hook in, takes the hook out, puts the hook in, takes the hook out to rack up 2 different back takes, 6 points in total. Fiona Davies looks unstoppable in this division.
Yeah.
We talked about it on yesterday's show.
She looked great. We get
phenomenal.
another Bia Basilio versus Bia Mosquito match for 3rd place. We've seen these two together often.
Yeah.
Crazy aggressive.
Yeah, crazy
like-
aggressive match.
Yeah.
Mosquito finishes submission 352.
Yeah. But it was 3 minutes and 52 seconds of
Oh yeah.
Yes.
This is a
Fucking
fun match.
scrapping.
Go watch this constellation. This 3rd place match. This is again, you've seen it before, but these two women scrap, and I love to see how aggressive.
and they've seen each other a
is.
ton. Bia Mosquito takes the win most of the time on this.
Yeah.
She takes it again here. It's not 100% of the time, but she takes it most of the time.
Yeah.
Your
think
former
5 or
champion
7.
takes 4th place.
Yep.
Bia Basilio won ADCC 2019. Bia Mosquito won ADCC 2015. So we have 2 former champions fighting for 3rd. Bia Mosquito takes it. Our finals match is Brie St. Marie.
Yep. We keep
versus
saying
Davies.
Saint Marie.
It's
It's
Saint
spelled
Marie?
in a way that I'm unfamiliar with seeing
Miranda, you
it.
had this down.
It's Saint Marie.
It is Saint
Saint
Marie.
Marie,
French.
but it's French, so I think it's
Is
just
it pronounced Saint Marie?
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
so, yeah.
Cool.
STE is abbreviation for saint.
Okay. I'm ignorant to it, so I wanted to make sure I was correct.
Saint Marie looks good. Fiona Davies looks unstoppable.
Yeah, I think it's the best way to put it. Is like Davies. Every single place that you had to fight Fiona Davies, she looks tight, a step ahead, confident, and just
Strong.
continues.
That's the thing.
Strong.
She looked so much stronger than everyone she was against. Like when push came to shove, like when there were those moments where you could concede something or not, she every single time was like, no, fuck this, I'm doing it, and like held shit together, maintained position, grabbed things. She didn't let people get by, and it just, the strength was amazing for the division, right?
It was truly phenomenal to watch. Like she has changed her game recently in the last couple of years.
With the change, she moved to Essential with JT Torres recently, within the past 6 to 9 months.
I think this year, some point, I don't know when.
And she called that out. She looked good. Her game looked different. I imagine being there with JT, who's...
I mean, she just took a world title in IBJJF.
Right.
Representing, she's Welsh.
Yeah.
She looks phenomenal. She looks unstoppable.
She takes this match 10-0.
Racks up points, and it was dominant like we have not seen in a bit. I cannot wait to see. I don't have a ton more other than like Theon Davies looks unstoppable. I have no idea in her divisions who can stop her.
I don't know. I'm excited to see more matches from her because her technique is incredible. It's
beautiful
really
throws
enjoyable
this weekend.
to watch.
And she's aggressive, and she's scoring, and she's continuing to look for progression.
Even if for the next 2 years she just murks people, I want to see it because I like watching her move and her technique.
I cannot wait
wonderful.
to see her return in 2024 as champion, coming back.
Yep.
I think that she is extremely hard to beat in any rule set, but particularly this rule set. And can't wait to see it. Like, watch her finals match, watch her whole run, 3 matches, phenomenal. Any other things we got to cover on this?
Oh, man.
Overall thoughts on, you said something?
No, I was just gonna complain about some of the point situations. There were some point situations that were a little off today.
Yeah,
Such as the whole Dante Leon situation where they gave him
that was
points
the biggest
and then
thing.
took it
That was
away.
a
that was
huge problem. We should actually talk about that. In Dante and Leon's semifinal match.
Yeah. This is going to be the under 77 kilogram division.
Yeah, consolidation match.
Yeah. So typically
this was semifinals.
Oh yeah,
it was against
because
Mika.
it was against Mika. Yeah.
So typically what happens in no longer division. Typically what happens in ADCC is ADCC is very, very different than other organizations in that ADCC is not the referee on the mat, it is assigning the points. They assign the penalties, so if you do something, the referee on the mat will assign a penalty to you, but the judges that are sitting on the table are the ones that are assigning points. Typically how it is done is that once an action occurs on the mat, the judges will convene and discuss with each other, and then points will be assigned. So there's a delay, and there can be a substantial delay from when the judges discuss and when points are put on the board. And sometimes points will be called back if they're still kind of discussing, but typically in the finals, not in like an open or not in like
semifinals, finals, the really important ones.
The judges discuss, and then points are put on the board, and then judges have already discussed, and there's a delay. In Dante Leon's match, that discussion appeared to still be occurring, and...
So what's important about this is Mika was up 2 points.
Yes.
Dante comes close to a takedown. The way that you have to hit takedowns in ADCC is that you have to get the hips flat to the mat.
Yeah.
Dante takes Mika down.
Or the butt down, but you can't be on the
butt.
knees.
Yeah. Dante takes Mika down, Mika turtles, then a period of time passes. It could have been under 3 seconds, it could have been over 3 seconds. It was a period of time. I think that legitimately it was probably about 5 seconds, but the point was that it was close to the 3 that Mika had turtled. Mika then turns back over and gets into guard. 2 points are awarded. So it's reasonable to assume...
I called, and I was talking to our group while this was occurring. I'm
you
like,
said it wasn't points.
I was like, that was weird. They gave him points for that. That should not have been points.
The rest of us were like, well, maybe it wasn't. Maybe he wasn't in turtle for 3 seconds, in which case the points are valid, right?
And I was very strong on watching. I was like,
yeah, we know you're right, man. Okay,
that's fine.
And this is in the last 2 minutes of the match.
Last minute
and a half.
Yeah.
They give Dante the points for this.
We
have the discussion. Some of us are like, oh, maybe it wasn't 3 seconds. Maine was like, no, that shouldn't have been points.
Yeah.
The remaining minute and a half goes, time hits 0. Dante thinks that they're tied. For the last minute and a half of the round, minute and a half of the match, Dante thinks they're tied.
Very much changes his tactics.
Playing tactically as if we're going into overtime, where Dante has the advantage.
And even Jarno, the referee on the mat, gets to the athletes and goes, okay, like and puts his hand 5 in front of each athlete, and then looks at the table and goes, there are no points all of a sudden.
They took the
Now
points away
Michael-
after 0 hit.
I think with 1 or 2 seconds left, they took the points away.
Yeah, it was towards the end.
Yeah, it was
very
very
close,
close. Within the last 10 seconds, the points come off the board, I think.
And you don't. I mean, you just typically don't see things like this that are sort of like that.
It's a mistake. There was a
snafu.
mistake.
It
There was a mistake that occurred. The points are typically put on the board after the judges have agreed, and then they go on the board.
Yeah.
And it can be a minute. It can be as long as it needs to be for the judges to make a decision for the points to go on the board. I think there was an
But
error
typically,
there.
Points don't. I mean, if points do go on the board, they go off right away. And the mistake happens. Dante fought for a minute and a half in overtime, thinking that it was going to go to a ref's decision,
Yeah.
and then points were taken away with a couple seconds left. So he tactically played a game that was wrong for the situation.
You saw him make that change where he went from being aggressive, he got his points, immediately slowed the pace back down to be even, to keep the evenness that he had
and
in
that
the match.
That really screws with things. Like
Yeah.
that was the biggest mistake, I think, of the weekend. That one hurt.
Yeah, there's some things you can argue for, and you can, ADCC, there's always controversy at the highest levels with the margins being so small.
There's always going to be.
Always.
That one was brutal, though.
Oh, that was brutal because I'm a huge fan of Dante. I've
Yeah.
loved his game since he was a purple belt. Watching him and covering him, we've covered him since 2017, routinely on the show.
Yeah.
Since the show has been running, and so that was unfortunate. I pulled for Dante. That happens. There are always mistakes at the World Championship
Anything
level.
else, Miranda?
No, that's it.
Overall, the event was the
Smooth.
best, I think, and greatest grappling event that has ever taken place.
Your USA versus Brazil, what is it, gold medals or is it total medals?
I was thinking gold medals.
Okay, so USA did surpass Brazil. USA had 4 gold medals, Brazil had 2. If we do total count, USA had 5 medals, Brazil had 12. Because
No, talking about gold medals.
Gold medals in this argument apparently will count.
because some of the guys have Brazil as their, Lucas Barbosa still says Brazil, and
Yeah.
Wagner
Yeah,
Hosha
yeah,
still
they
says Brazil.
Yep.
No, I was going golds.
Country of birth is what.
Yeah, it's country of birth.
Country of birth.
I was specifically thinking golds
Yeah.
Yeah.
for my statement.
So you were correct.
Because ADCC doesn't actually have a points. Like you go to the Olympics, you have this many points for a bronze, this many points for a silver, this many points for a gold. ADCC doesn't actually
There are no
care about
country
those
titles.
things. So I was just there's no country titles. So I was just thinking okay, out of championships, who takes more championships?
And
this
Brazil
time?
has always taken more
Always.
championships. This is the first year we're seeing a bit of a change. We're also seeing the young dudes are here, and I think they're here to stay. Diego Hayes, 20 years old, under 60 kilogram champion. Tyrotolo, 19 years old, under 77 champion. Bodoni, I think 24, 25. I don't know Bodoni's age, but under 88 kilogram champion.
The
under
youngsters
99.
are here.
Young man's game, young woman's
screw
game.
those kids.
I am very excited to see the development and depth that continues to come. I had a couple of people, international folks that were at the ADCC Open, go, the kids at this event do not look like the kids in the rest of the world.
No.
And he goes, you guys have a structure here that is different. He goes, I am very curious to see what this crop of kids that I saw here today at the Open look like when they are adults. And so,
All right. It is 1:30 and I still haven't eaten dinner.
fantastic. So this is live from ADCC. We love ADCC. I cannot wait to get back to normal shows.
Live.
But we're here. We have one mic. We have tech issues, all that sort of stuff.
On site.
We really appreciate it. As always, I am your host, Maine, with the Grappling Rewind, joined by my co-host,
Zach.
my other co-host,
Miranda.
and
I will.
I am Will.
and we are the Grappling Rewind. We'll see you on the mat whenever it is. Stay safe. If you like the show, please consider sharing it on Facebook with the folks at your gym. It's the best way that we grow the show, and we really appreciate it. You can reach out to us on email.
We also have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Google+.
Until that shuts down.
We have a website.
If you have an event you would like to have us cover, please let us know. If you have a name, like most people do, and you'd like to have us stop butchering it,
Let us know.
reach out to us. The show is also available on YouTube, Spotify, in addition to iTunes and every other podcast service. We very much appreciate your time, and thank you.